going to get started. Thank you everybody for joining us today on another beautiful San Diego summer day. It was just under 2 months ago that San Diego was battling the Bernardo fire as well as other wildfires throughout the region. You can see some of the devastation just right out here. It could have been much worse, and for other communities it was. With nearly 1,600 acres burning in the city limits, it is a true testament to the professionalism as well as the skill of our first responders that no homes were destroyed and no lives were lost. I was one of those who got evacuated that day, and as I drove away from my home, along with hundreds of other residents, it was a stark reminder that fire season is no longer just a few months of the year, but is instead a year-round battle. That is why it is critical that we do everything that we can to protect our homes and our property. The Mayor, Chief Mainar, and I are here today to make sure that homeowners are aware of the proactive measures that they should take in order to be prepared. For the homes adjacent to open space wildland, many of which are located here in District 5 communities, some of these proactive steps aren't just recommended, but they're required. I'll let the Chief go into more detail, but in general, these are all steps that homeowners can and should take right now. Maintain 100 feet of defensible space around their property. Remove all dead plants, grass, and weeds within 30 feet of your home. Clean out your gutters and your roof of leaves, pine needles, and other debris. And have an evacuation plan in case of wildfire. We've heard time and again that defensible space saves homes. CAL FIRE as well as Chief Mainar spoke to that extensively again during the May wildfires. And I can say from personal experience, making sure that you have your important papers in one place, a plan for what you'll take with you in case of evacuation, and knowing where you'll go can make an emergency evacuation far less stressful and scary. All signs this year point to a severe fire season, so we must be vigilant. Fires can go from bad to worse in a very short time. By taking some of these steps now, we are giving firefighters the advantage they need in order to better protect our communities. With that, I'd like to invite Mayor Faulconer up here to say a few words. Mayor?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Councilmember. And thank you, Chief. You and your team. We all know what a remarkable job our Fire Rescue Department did and our San Diego Police Department. Men and women who put themselves on the lines for us several months ago during the fires. Today, it's all about prevention and getting that word out about the steps that we can take as we are in what is fast becoming a year-round fire season, and about taking proactive action to help lessen that impact. You don't have to look far, obviously, to see the devastation that wildfires can inflict. These nearby hills and canyons, over 1,500 acres, of course, were charred by the Bernardo fire in May. The unfortunate reality is that wildfires are an ever-present threat in San Diego, and it's up to all of us, to get together to protect our homes and our families. And our simple message is that the time is now. The time is now to prepare. The Bernardo fire served as a stark reminder that fires can flare up without notice and without mercy. Fire safety is everyone's responsibility. The city has been doing its part in terms of increasing funding for brush management efforts. And the budget that was also just passed invested in the Fire Rescue Department by including additional protective gear for our firefighters in the budget. But like the city, homeowners must also take common steps approach to make sure that we're doing everything we can to prepare, because we are all in this together. That primarily means creating a defensible space around your home. And we saw firsthand, and you can see firsthand here, how important those defensible spaces were in aiding our Fire Rescue Department when the fire swept through here. That also means creating an emergency pack of supplies so a family can evacuate very quickly if necessary. And it also means sitting down with your family now to discuss a plan of action in case of an emergency. We are so very, very fortunate here in San Diego, as I think all of us know, that we have excellent men and women who are our first responders, who called to action and do so immediately and put their lives on the line. They are out there every day and every night working hard to keep us safe. Their swift action is a big reason why the Bernardo fire was stopped where it was and didn't grow any larger. Their unified effort, along with CAL FIRE, the Sheriff's Department, our police department, kept the damage from the Bernardo fire and others to an absolute minimum. That's why we're not talking about lives that were lost and homes that were destroyed in this Bernardo fire. But because we have such great, wonderful first responders, doesn't mean that we should not be doing everything we can to help prepare and to help them when they are called during the next fire. Every home that has a proper defensible space means one less home that firefighters will have to risk their lives to protect. And every family that is ready for an emergency is one less family that police officers and firefighters have to evacuate when a wildfire is bearing down on them. San Diegans know how important it is to work together. We all need reminders. And this is a time as we're hitting the height of the summer season and the traditional fire season looms ahead of us. Be prepared. Create those defensible spaces. Have that emergency plan ready. Discuss it with your entire family and particularly your children. We urge everyone to make these plans now, as I said, to become prepared for what has become a year-round fire season throughout San Diego. We owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our families, and we certainly owe it to our first responders to be prepared. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our Fire Rescue Chief, Chief Javier Mainar. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'd like to begin today, first of all, thank you all for coming here. I want to thank our Mayor and Councilmember Kersey for providing this opportunity to once again reinforce this message that's been heard time and time again in our community. But more broadly, I want to thank both of them for their support. During the Bernardo fire, we all spent many hours out here discussing what happens next and how best to combat this fire and repopulate the community. And more broadly, I would thank them for the financial support that they're providing in the budget that was just recently passed and signed by our mayor. It does provide additional resources for the Fire Rescue Department. You know, we live in a big urban community here. We protect a very large area, but we're also very prone to wildfires, as regrettably history has shown us. So we spend a considerable amount of time throughout the year training our firefighters to make sure they're prepared for a wildfire. And I'm very, very proud of the job that our firefighters did, and I mean our firefighters collectively, those in this region that helped put this out with the help of our law enforcement partners. But we need the public's help to be successful, and part of that success was, in fact, as a result of the public's efforts. We repeat the message often, but it's worth saying it again. Defensible space is invaluable to protect your home. Some of these homes out here were not protected by firefighters, but the reasons they did not burn was they were protected by the defensible space created by the property owners who have those homes. It made a huge difference. There simply are not enough resources in any community, even with a robust mutual aid system, to put a firefighter and a fire crew on each and every house. So it's imperative that the homeowners help us do things. Many of the homeowners here in this community, many of the property managers did an exceptional job of doing just that. Creating the properly maintained defensible space of 100 feet is imperative, but we're not asking homeowners to simply clear 100 feet. There are very specific regulations that drive how you are to thin the brush behind your home. And it's imperative that everyone check with their local jurisdiction to ensure that they comply with those regulations. If you over-thin the land, you create erosion problems and opportunities for invasive species to take over. And often you will be required by the regulations to revegetate the area at great expense to do that. So we don't want anyone to make that mistake. Look, we're looking in the city of San Diego for a 50% reduction in the fuel mass behind homes. And that's the first 35 feet of your home are typically landscaped, but for the next 65 feet, we would like to see that fuel reduction take place. Now, there is no question that the firefighters and law enforcement officers, first responders did a great job, but we were also very fortunate during the Bernardo fire. These Santa Ana winds died down in the evening, which is not something that always occurs. And that dying down of the wind gave the firefighters an opportunity to catch up with the fire and make sure that the hot spots were out. There were no other fires burning in our region or immediately to the north of us, so it was very easy to get additional resources bearing down on this fire. And I think at the height of the fire, we had over 300 firefighters from too numerous agencies to even mention here that helped us contain it. There was also a lot of new construction in the area, so many of the homes were built to be fire hardened and be resistive to being ignited by embers, which is something we see causing a lot of problems. All of those work to our advantage to having this fire come through this community at a very high rate of speed, consume 1,600 acres, but take no property, and more importantly, take absolutely no lives. We're very, very proud of that result. But the fire service is very self-critical, and at this moment we're preparing an after-action report that details many things that we feel we can do better. And I think there are things the community can even do better and should be thinking about at this time. From fire hardening your home, to providing defensible space, to ensuring you're prepared to be notified of an emergency, by registering your cell phone at readysandiego.org, they're all things that can be done. There's a lot of good information to help you prepare in booklets like this, the Ready, Set, Go booklet, or by going to your local fire agency's website. A great, tremendous amount of information. But let me just leave you with this. What we want you to do is really quite simple. In the ready phase, we would like you to do everything you can to prepare yourself for a disaster. Harden your home, create defensible space, determine where you would evacuate to, make provisions for your pets, think about your important papers, gather your medications, do all of that in advance so you don't have to think of it at the last moment. At the set portion of it, if you've been notified that a fire is advancing on your community, make those last-minute preparations. Make the phone calls you need to make, gather your medications and your eyeglasses, put them in the car and be ready to go. And when our law enforcement partners ask you to evacuate, please do so immediately. There are countless stories that can be found on the internet of people that simply waited too long, even in our own county, and perished on the roadways as they were trying to escape a fast-moving fire. There are firefighters who die the very same way each and every year. It's not something that can be done. So we want you out of the harm's way as quickly as we can get you there. And again, I want to thank everybody. This brochure is available on many of the websites. It's certainly available for the City of San Diego at sandiego.gov/fire. They're also available at our fire stations and our police substations throughout our community. But thank you again for assisting us in getting out this very important message. As the mayor has noted and the council member has confirmed, there is no fire season really in San Diego. It is a year-round event, as recent history has shown us. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We'd be happy to answer any questions one-on-one. Thank you, guys.